Hello guys, it is the Gaming Weasel back again with another video. In today's video, I will be covering my top 5 melee weapons inside of Warframe in 2021 as of recording this video, which is the 13th of March. And a couple of things that I want to clarify is the weapons that I use in this video are played in level 115 or so, level in Steel Path, except the first one. The first one is going to be mostly just me playing some Oxy, so, you know, it doesn't really matter. I know some of you guys are going to maybe say, like, oh, the first one's not recorded in the high tier level, how am I supposed to trust that? I just do it because it is a great weapon, and it is a great weapon. This is my personal list. These are the weapons that I think are very, very good. The numerical order is not from best to worst or worst to best. It's just 5 numbers and 5 weapons that I think players should get, try out, and use, and that I think are great weapons. Now, with that out of the way, we have our honorable mentions. For honorable mentions, we have weapons such as the Kronen Prime, the Orthos, and the Reaper Prime. I'm not saying these weapons are bad, it just can really make a top 8. I think top 5 sounds much better. These weapons are really, really good. Honestly, I use the Kronen Prime a lot, so goes with the Reaper, and of course the Orthos Prime is my most used weapon inside of Warframe. And we also have weapons such as the Legion, the Parasist as well, or Parasist I think it's called. The Legion is a really great weapon where you can get it from the Chem Lab inside of your clan dojo. It is a really, really good weapon. You have also weapons such as the Guandao, you have weapons as the Galatine, Dual Ether Swords, then Sylvan Aegis Prime and Akin Brunt, for example. Those are really good weapons as well. And that is mostly it that I think are really honorable mentions. Of course, Galatine Prime as well, and the Stropha as well for a gunblade weapon. And I actually use the Stropha. That's actually a pretty decent weapon to get, so, you know, if you can, get your hands on it. But starting off in my top 5, number 5, we have the Guandao Prime. This polearm is very, very, very good. I'm kind of sad that it outshines my Orthos Prime, but what can you do? It happens in Warframe and power creep in almost any game. But the build looks something like this. It is a pretty basic combo of status chance and, of course, critical chance. I do use my Kuvanukor a lot to apply status, and all of these weapons are gonna be 10 times better with Kuvanukor or Aceto to apply status effects to enemies because of condition overload, of course, because melee weapons are overpowered, mostly because condition overload and combo counters and everything that I named in my video. Now, the build has condition overload, blood rush, organ shatter, true steel, vicious frost, north wind, primed pressure point, and primed fever strike. Now, these builds are my personal builds that I use. You can change these and customize your builds as much as you want and as much as your heart contents. Pressure point, I would maybe change out for or violent scourge, or I would add maybe drifting contact. But other than that, the weapon itself, it's a really good slash based weapon, as most of these weapons are. I honestly love it because of the range. I love it because of the critical chance of its damage. It is a very, very useful weapon to go in your Warframe journey. It's around 40 platinum on the Warframe market. I'm going to be saying the numbers just so you know if you maybe want to get them after this video. 40 platinum is, sorry, I kind of battled the mic right there. It is 40 platinum is pretty decent to get, and of course you can grind it out because it's not bolted. But nonetheless, a really, really great polearm to use alongside your Warframe. And as I said, you can use it, for example, the Legion or the Kronen Prime if you want. Moving on to number 4, we have the Nami Skyla Prime. Honestly, I wasn't expecting this weapon to be good. I got it like 3 days ago. Honestly, It's very, very good. I love it. I love dual-handed sword weapons. I use the dual ether swords a lot in my early days of Warframe. And as you can see, the build looks something like this. Swirling Tiger for the stance, Drifting Contact, Organ Shatter, Weeping Wounds, North the Wind, Violent Scourge, Blood Rush, Condition Overload, and Berserker. Honestly, I do love this weapon. It's a really, really good dual sword weapon. I applied the skin from what's the deluxe skin called, from Saren's deluxe skin, just because I love symmetry, and both of these look exactly the same. So this for a dual-handed weapon is very great. I guess you could change out Drifting Contact for maybe Primed Reach or Reach in general. It'll make it maybe much better at longer ranges, but nonetheless it is a very, very good weapon to use for a dual-handed sword. It's around 150-140 platinum to get. I was able to get it for 110 from a certain person on in the trading chat, so yeah. And of course you can grind it out. If I'm correct, it's not in the vault, but I'm 90% sure it is. But yeah, a really great dual-handed sword weapon. Other dual-handed sword weapons that I recommend is maybe the dual ether swords. Definitely, that's another great weapon to actually use and play around with. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Moving on, at number 3, I think, yes, we have the Redeemer Prime. Now, the Redeemer Prime is a really, really good gunblade weapon. It's on par with the Stropha. It's really, really on par with the Stropha. I usually use this in the Index, which is quite strange, because I love how it one-shots the enemies at level 126. It's really good to use. I don't prefer it against crowds, because some weapons are definitely better than in crowds of enemies, but it's a good weapon nonetheless. The heavy damage is great as well, and of course used for Eidolon hunting. The build looks something like this. We have for the stance Bullet Dance, and we have Sacrificial Steel, Violent Scourge, Berserker, Vicious Frost. We have Jagged Edge, Primed Pressure Point, Prime Fever Strike, and we have Condition Overload. Now, instead of Jagged Edge, you could maybe put Killing Blow to increase the damage of heavy attacks, or the and of course the wind-up time to heavy attacks. So honestly, this is a pretty good and versatile weapon. I do love using it occasionally because it does have some slash attacks. The stance is incredible. I love how your character moves in this stance, and I love the movement system in this stance. It's very nice, quick slash attacks and gunfire, mostly just firing the, I guess, gun from the gun blade in the name. So really good. A little bit less slash attacks, but mostly gun blade. In kind of close quarters combat, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's good, and it's a very good weapon nonetheless. Moving on to number 2, we have the Kronen Prime. Now this is a heavy weapon, heavy melee weapon. Honestly, it can be compared to the Vitrica, or it can be compared to the Galatine Prime. Now, Cleaving Whirlwind is the stance, Condition Overload, Sacrificial Steel, Organ Shatter, Witch's Frost, Blood Rush, Berserker, North Wind, and Primed Fever Strike. You'll see a pattern here. Most of these weapons are built sort of the same way, so I mean, it is the meta, so I gotta show it to you, and I gotta show you my builds. So yeah, nonetheless, a great dual-handed weapon. The Cleaving Whirlwind stance is incredible. You just swing and swing and swing around like a windmill or a whirlwind, and you just clear out enemies. You see in the gameplay that I mostly use just spam E, and then everything disappears. I am fighting against Infested, but nonetheless, it is a great weapon to have, and actually one of my most used weapons, maybe in the top like 3 or 5 most used weapons, because I love dual-handed swords, and this one is simply incredible in my opinion. And of course, moving on to number 1. At number 1, everybody was expecting this. We have Kronen Prime. Sovereign Outcast is going to be the stance. We have Primed Reach, Berserker, Blood Rush, Condition Overload, Weeping Wounds, Organ Shatter, Prime Fever Strike, and Vicious Frost. This weapon is simply incredible. I love using these weapons. In 90% of my builds, if they're not low tier, I guess, missions, I will use this weapon. You put anything in front of this, the crowd just dies. You will see in the gameplay, I'm pretty easily able to kill anything that's right in front of me. It does take me, of course, some time, but yeah, nonetheless, this weapon is great. It is a Tonfa's weapon, and hopefully it doesn't get hit with the Nerf hammer really, really badly. I was actually able to kill one of the acolyte. No, it's not an acolyte. I forgot what it's called. It's one of Stalker's acolytes, I guess. Completely forgot the name. Pretty easily with this weapon. I love this thing, and a lot of people do. The price, actually, I forgot to say a couple of the prices. So for the Redeemer, it's around 50 platinum, and the Grand Prime is sort of the same price range, but then the Kronen goes up to 200 platinum, so that's a different story in of its own. Now, as I said in the beginning of the video, you can change up these builds as much as you like and then play in your own builds. Maybe leave some comments in the description down below about your thoughts, maybe some weapons that you like more than these that I named, and maybe you see and use weapons that are better than these, and yeah, just start a discussion down below. So as I said at the beginning of this video, keep in mind that this is my list and these are just great weapons for all players that can use these and have fun with these. And that is mostly it. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, leave a like, a comment, and subscribe for more content. I see a lot of you guys not subscribe. Join me on my journey, I guess, to 5k subs by the end of the year. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, yeah, as I already said that, but yeah, this has been the Gaming Weasel, over and out.